What's up, it's Kaero. Welcome back. Before we begin, know that this video is mostly talking about the standard format, but could apply to other formats as well. Today I'm talking about spoilers for the upcoming set, The Brothers' War. I talked about Urza, Lord Protector, a few days ago in another video, and today I'm talking about Urza's brother, the one and only Mishra, the other brother for the Brothers' War expansion. Without further delay, let's get into it. Thanks for hitting the thumbs up and subscribing. So here he is, Mishra, claimed by Gix. He is a 4-drop in black-red. He's a legendary creature and is a Phyrexian human artificer, which could be a relevant creature type for standard, most relevant being human. Not usually human tribal in Rakdos colors, but it could be relevant. His stat line for Mishra is 3-5, which is not crazy, but not bad either. It's actually good that he has a higher toughness, as you'll see from his text box, but it's pretty much middle of the road. But here is where it gets interesting in the text box. Whenever you attack, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the number of attacking creatures. If Mishra, claimed by Gix, and a creature named Phyrexian Dragon Engine are attacking, and you both own and control them, exile them, then meld them into Mishra, lost to Phyrexia. It enters the battlefield tapped and attacking. Whew. That is a lot. Let's break it down. The first thing we notice here is that Mishra pays us off for having the maximum amount of attacking creatures that we can possibly muster. You attack with 10 token 1/1s, the opponent loses 10 life and you gain 10 life. It's a tough ask. It really is. But Mishra does want us to go wide to get the maximum payoff. Secondly, we have a named creature other than Mishra in the text box, and if we both own and control them and they're both attacking, we get to meld Mishra, and that creature is going to be a 9/9, as we can see by the 9 power, 9 toughness in the lower right hand corner of the text box, just above the 3/5 power and toughness of Mishra. And before we get to that 9/9, let's check out the other card, Phyrexian Dragon Engine, because after all, we do need that to be able to transform and meld Mishra into the big baddie 9/9. So here we have Phyrexian Dragon Engine is a 3 generic mana artifact creature, Phyrexian Dragon, and Dragon could possibly matter. Not too much in standard right now with Dragon things. There's Rith, Liberated Prime Evil from Dominaria United, but that's about as far as it goes. So not any crazy creature types here. It does have double strike and is a 2/2 for 3. So it brawls pretty well, and when Phyrexian Dragon Engine enters the battlefield from your graveyard, you may discard your hand, and if you do, you can draw 3 cards. It also has Unearth for 2 red, 3 generic. Now, Unearth was a mechanic introduced in the Shards of Alara expansion, which states, return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste, exile it at the beginning of the next end step. If it would leave the battlefield, exile it instead of putting it anywhere else, and activate only as a sorcery. So this card wants you to be aggressive, gives you a decent way to play it from the graveyard if it's removed, and if you empty your hand like aggro decks want to do, the best case scenario is you discard your hand with an empty hand to discard and draw 3 cards. And that is the type of a reload an aggro deck dreams about having to keep the pressure on and winning games with that. So on turn 5, you're generally running out of steam. If you can unearth this for 5, swing in with a 2/2 double striker, and gain 3 cards off of that, that is massive. And it comes generally right about the time it's needed on turn 5. So before I get to pointing out some of the downsides of these cards, let's check out the flip side of Mishra. Mishra, lost to Phyrexia. This is a massive creature. It is a 9/9, and whenever Mishra, lost to Phyrexia, enters the battlefield or attacks, you can choose 3 of these. Target opponent discards 2 cards. Mishra deals 3 damage to any target. Destroy target artifact or planeswalker. Creatures you control gain menace and trample until end of turn. And creatures you don't control get -1/-1 until end of turn. And there's another one to create 2 tapped Power Stone tokens. And Power Stone tokens are going to be a new thing in the Brothers' War that allow you to tap them to play artifact spells or activate artifact abilities and add a colorless mana. Seems pretty insane, right? Given that both Mishra and the Phyrexian Dragon Engine want us to be as wide as possible and as aggressive as possible, I think the most likely modes you choose here are Mishra deals 3 damage to any target. That can either go to the opponent's face if there's not a lot of creatures on board, or it can remove a problematic creature. It can also destroy a planeswalker. If you really wanted to, it says any target. Creatures you control gain menace and trample till end of turn. After all, it does want you to go wide, so you're probably going to have a lot of creatures. That's going to help you out. And I think it's a tie with third for creatures you don't control get -1/-1 until the end of your turn if you're facing another aggro deck. And target opponent discards 2 cards if you know that they're holding like a big sorcery speed bomb they're going to play next turn, or a massive creature that's going to derail your board state. And destroy target planeswalker or artifact against control decks. It is worth noting that if they have 2 planeswalkers out, you can deal 3 damage to one and kill it and destroy another one. So that's pretty cool. So I've pointed out some of the upside. I think some of the insane things that this card can do we have talked about. But before we go crazy with it and say this is going to be included in every deck, this is so insane. First of all, it has to be said, it is cliche at this point, but all of these things die to removal, and particularly instant speed removal. Mishra does have the upside of having 5 toughness and a combined power and toughness of 8. So it doesn't die to cut down, which is all over the meta right now in standard. And it survives most burn removal spells. A lot of them can't deal 5 damage. I think there's 1 in standard that can do that right now, which is good. But it also doesn't have ward or anything like that. It doesn't have evasion in that way. And Mishra on his own can't really brawl super well. It's just a 3/5 with no combat abilities that drains the opponent for 1 life if it attacks on its own. And it'll just straight up die to Shieldred if the opponent has a Shieldred, which is a 4/5 death touch on turn 4. Speaking of the meta, this is hyper transparent to the opponent. The second they see Phyrexian Dragon Engine on turn 2, a well-informed opponent's going to begin planning for Mishra's arrival by saving counter spells, removal spells, and bounce spells, which is heavily present in the meta right now because mono blue tempo is so strong and is only showing signs of getting stronger with the release of the Brothers' War and the release of the card Surge Engine, which I've talked about in another video. Another downside is that Mishra has to be on the field before you attack, meaning you most likely will not be able to hold up any mana for combat tricks or responses to removal or anything like that when you decide to attack on turn 4, since you're going to have to commit all of your mana pre-combat to get Mishra down to get him to pay off for the life drain ability. So what about Dragon Engine? Truth be told, I actually like Dragon Engine more on its own than I like Mishra. I think this card has serious potential in Boros Modified, with cards like Thundering Raiju. You attack with this and the Raiju, this thing becomes a 3/3 double striker. Possibly even more inclusion in some Gruul modified decks with cards like Quirion Beastcaller and Kumano Faces Kakazan in Boros and Gruul. Putting +1/+1 counters on this thing early is going to make it a beater. And if it dies, it can reload your hand. I think Dragon Engine is probably the sleeper of these 2 cards and the one likely to see play in more decks than Mishra, because I think it has just a broader appeal to more decks. So, does this mean Mishra and Phyrexian Dragon Engine are bad, or Mishra being bad? Because I've pretty much made it clear that I think Phyrexian Dragon Engine is pretty good. I don't think Mishra is bad. And if the opponent does not have an answer to Mishra, lost to Phyrexia, if you can get this thing flipped, this game is going to end very quickly with you as the winner. A 9/9 where you can choose any 3 of these out of the 6 modes is really, really insane. So I think the card is very good. I just think that the combo is going to be one that an opponent can see coming from a mile away. And you're not going to be surprising anybody here, other than maybe you'll get some surprises on week 1 of the release on Arena. People that haven't looked at the spoilers will see this and be like, what does that do? Boom! Just smoke them. But after a while, I think they're going to be able to see it coming, and I think they're going to start preparing for it in ways that's saving removal, counter spells, bouncing it. I mean, if you meld this thing and Mishra comes in, yes, you do get to trigger all the abilities, but you can also bounce it, meaning that it's all of your work is just gone. They're going to see it coming. It's just going to be a matter if they can stop it. So, that concludes the video for today. Did I get anything wrong, or do you disagree? If you disagree, let me know in the comments. I am perfectly fine with disagreement. That's what this is here for, just to discuss the card. how good we think it's going to be and if it's going to see standard play. And thanks for checking out the video on the channel. If you want to check out that video on Urza, Lord Protector, or Surge Engine, you can click the channel link below. Feel free to subscribe and check out those videos and subscribe for more MTG content. Thanks, and I'll talk to you next time.